Good morning and welcome to another of Tim's Tech Talk videos here at Venom Motorsports Canada. So today we're having a look at an X22 and what's involved in replacing a carburetor. So with the X22, to replace the carb, there's a few things that we're going to have to do. And again, depending on your physical size, you might choose to remove one of the fairings to give you a little bit more hand space inside. And basically what you're going to do is to remove the fuel line. We can keep the bowl vent in place until we completely remove the carburetor, so we don't have to remove that hose right away. If you have a look up in here, you'll see this line right there, which is for the evap system. So this basically is a vacuum line that draws hydrocarbons that are sitting on top of the gasoline in your gas tank. It draws them out, runs them through an activated charcoal unit, and then takes those combustibles and by this vacuum line right here, introduces them back into the carburetor so they can be burnt. This is what has replaced a atmospheric cap on your gas tank. So in the old days, we just used to let the gas tank vent on its own. We don't do that anymore. Of course, it runs through the evap system. So this is your evap line. And you'll notice on some of the carburetors that we see, some have an evap nipple and some do not. Now, if your carburetor does not have an evap nipple, no need to panic, because you can use a Y and tie in to the vacuum line that you see here, going right into the intake manifold. And I'm going to show you that later on in this video and what that would look like, because not every carburetor is going to have this nipple right here for the evap system. What it will have is a petcock and of course your choke. So this is your choke mechanism here. Your throttle is right up here, and we're going to back that off. You can see this little nut that I'm working with here with my fingers. We're going to back that off. And when we pull that out, what's going to come out will be the barrel and the needle for the carb. And if you're replacing the carburetor with an exact or very, very similar carburetor, the barrel and the needle will be the same. So if you like, you can go ahead and reuse them, or you can install the new barrel. The decision again would be yours. The other components that you have to consider are the air coming in from the air box. The air box is here. This is the line that feeds combustion air after it's been filtered into the carburetor throat. So we're going to have to remove this fitting to remove the carb. The only other two screws that we're going to be concerned with will be the mounts. So these are mounting bolts back here that hold the carburetor to the intake manifold, which is this part right there. After we remove those, the carburetor will come out quite nicely. So we're going to go ahead and proceed with that now. And through the magic of time-lapse photography, we'll show you what it looks like when it's completed. Right back. Good afternoon and welcome to another of Tim's Tech Talk videos here at Venom Motorsports. So today we are going to work on the second part of our video, which will be reinstalling a carb on this X22. And we're going to be installing an upgrade. So this carb is referred to as a PZ22, and it has slightly better output and capacity than a PZ20. So this is actually an upgrade for your carb. You'll note that it has, again, real machine screws, not the tamper-proof that I'm not a big fan of. And other things to note is that on this carburetor, this line right here is referred to as an atmospheric vent. This line down here is again the overflow line for the carb. So you'll notice that there's no vacuum nipple built into the side of this particular carb. So to work around that, we are going to use this nipple fitting here that you see, which is for the positive crankcase ventilation system, and we're going to cheat a little bit and modify it with this particular fitting here. So we're going to be coming off the vacuum nipple, insert our three-way connector, which will then allow us to connect the evap side of the system using this line here, and of course back over to the positive crankcase ventilation side of the system using this line here. Now you might ask yourself, well, where are we going to get this extra little bit of fuel line from? Conveniently, on this new upgraded carb, the discharge line that you see here at the bottom of the bowl, which would be for the overflow, is quite long. So we're just going to cut a little bit off this, and that'll give us that wee bit of line that we need on the other side. So that's very handy. You'll also note that I've taken out the top cap, barrel, and needle assembly from the body of the new carb, because as fate would have it, it is exactly the same size as what you'll find in the P20. There is no difference here whatsoever. So again, I'm a great believer in reusing parts wherever possible. So we're just going to go ahead and swap that out without having to remove this whole assembly. So that'll make things a bit easier for us. I typically like to start firstly with the throttle connector. Then I'll go ahead and place the carb in position, insert the mounting bolts that you'll see right here onto the intake. I'll insert the mounting bolts there. Then once I've got that connected, I'll go ahead, reconnect the air box, and then finally the choke assembly. Once this cable is connected and the carb is properly mounted, then I'll go back in and work on the vacuum assembly that you see here, and I'll be back in just a few minutes and show you what that looks like when it's put together. See you in a few. Thank you. Alright, so we're having a look at the new carb, and I have installed, of course, the connector from the throttle. So the throttle assembly is looking very good, and one thing you need to be aware of is that as a check, you can play with the throttle handle and just ensure that the barrel goes all the way up and goes all the way down. You have nice smooth motion. Now this is really important, because sometimes when you're playing with these carbs and you know, for whatever reason, install the barrel in incorrectly, you'll not get this nice smooth motion that you see here, and the barrel and the needle valve will not open. So basically, if this gets stuck and you're in the closed position, your bike will idle, but that's all you're going to get out of it. The other thing that I've seen is sometimes the barrel will stick. People will make a mistake. The barrel's stuck almost fully open. So the bike will start and zooms up to 6,000 RPM. This again is not a good thing. So you want to make sure that you've got the grooves properly aligned in the carb, and the easiest way to do this is always use the large groove in the barrel with respect to the idle screw. So you'll see the idle screw come poking in on the other side of this particular carburetor. It's over on the back side, if you will. And when you put the barrel in, the large groove goes where the idle screw is. It's really that simple. So as long as those are well positioned, this is what it should look like, and that's how it should perform and operate. We'll be back with a little bit more shortly. Alright, so now as you can see, we've got the carburetor back in place. We have modified the vacuum system here by inserting a vacuum split. So basically now the vacuum that we were looking for from the intake manifold is being split in two directions. One is over to the positive crankcase ventilation system, and the other goes to the evap. So that is now been modified and will work perfectly. Again, on this side we have our atmospheric vent, our fuel supply coming in. This again is our vent, or pardon me, drain from the bottom of the fuel bowl in case your float sticks. So if your float sticks, you're going to see fuel coming out of this line and discharging at the bottom of the bike. The choke mechanism right here has been reinstalled, and one thing I'd like to leave you with as well on the choke is sometimes you'll find that your bike may need a little bit more choking in cooler temperatures, or if the bike has been sitting for a very long time. So what I recommend is just take this choke lever and move it upwards. So that's no choke, that is absolute full choke, and just move it up forward with your thumb. Roll the bike over a couple of times, and that'll help pull some more fuel into the carburetor. It'll enrich the mixture just a little bit more and help with those cold weather starts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Enjoy the ride, my friends. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.